Hey, what's up everybody? I know it's been quite a while since I really did much of anything with this channel or made a serious video. It's been a couple months at this point. And I don't know when exactly the next time I'm gonna seriously do anything is gonna be. There are various reasons for why I haven't been uploading. Maybe I'll do a separate vid at some point, but I just want to keep this video concise about the topic that I'm going to discuss here. And hopefully keep it short, 20 minutes maybe if I'm lucky, because I ramble like a son of a bitch. But as you can obviously tell from the title, this video is about my contemplation, and ultimately at this point it's a decision pretty much, almost certainly, unless things fall through, to switch back to Windows from Mac after 6 years. And I just kind of figured I'd come on here and talk about it a little bit, just to rant, just to get my thoughts out there, because I've always kind of made update videos about where I am with computer stuff, especially back in the day when I was switching more actively between different machines and setups and stuff. Excuse me, I was always posting vids about it and keeping up to date, and I just figured it would be kind of an interesting follow-up to those, as we've kind of come full circle at this point, going back to Windows in the end. Not entirely. We're gonna get into this whole thing, this situation, because it's complicated. But so just for backstory, I know some people. I have a lot more subscribers. I have like 320 more subscribers than I did when I switched to Mac, which was 6 years ago, back in November 2017. Because at that point I was just using these ancient antique Windows machines. That's all I had really, was just old Windows computers. The one that I was primarily using was a ThinkPad laptop, like a 11-inch ThinkPad laptop hooked up to my TV. And I still have that thing, and I've always kept using that thing. Even though I've been on Mac primarily, I always kept using that as a Windows machine. So I had Windows, and it was always running Windows 7. And I'll get into that later. But I got a 17-inch 2006 iMac, which antique at the time, even in 2017. But running Mac OS Lion, and Firefox was still up to date at that time, pretty much. And even the Safari version that came with it, you could still browse most sites. And I did live streams with this webcam on that computer and everything, and it worked fine for putting my toes in the water for the Mac and everything, and kind of learning the system and everything. It was really good for that. And I enjoyed the experience immensely at the time, coming from Windows. And then over time I got more iMacs, got newer iMacs, but I was always well behind. I stayed like 10 years behind the bleeding edge when it comes to these iMacs, because in 2018 I got a 2008 iMac. In 2019 I got a 2010 iMac for like $50, the classic 2010 iMac. And then ultimately I ended up with this 2012 iMac last year. And that's what I'm using now as my pretty much main machine, and at this point basically only really modern functional machine. Only one that's connected to the internet, really. Because I've dabbled with Apple laptops. I don't like them in terms of maintaining the older ones. The batteries and just the whole thing, I don't care for them. I've had a couple Mac Minis, and I'll also get into that. Thoughts about that. And then I've never had a Mac Pro, and I don't have any interest in doing that. I care about the power consumption of my machines. I don't like to just fucking blow out the power bill. And you get a 2006 Mac Pro or an 8, those things use up a lot of electricity, man. They really do, especially if you get to upgrading and stuff. And I don't need Xeons, I don't need fucking graphics cards or anything crazy. So I never had one of those either, and I never will. But I've loved the iMac. I think this is a great machine. This 27-inch iMac, this is the coolest damn computer I think ever, in terms of just being a simple all-in-one package. Got a great screen, good enough speakers for what it is, decent specs for what it was at the time, definitely. This was really a good model that they had, and they obviously had it up until a couple of years ago. And they even came out recently and said they're not making another 27-inch iMac, so for someone like me, that's a big problem. So we can't continue on with the iMacs, because at this point, you know, going down to, it's like a 23.5 inch screen actually. In reality, 23.5 or 0.8 or something like that, doesn't really matter. I don't want to go back down permanently like that. I'm not going to tie myself to a smaller screen on a modern machine. I just don't want to do that. The 27 inch is pretty much as big as I'd want to go, but I really wouldn't want to go back to anything smaller. I mean, I could, but I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't spend $1,500 on a computer that's going to be locked into a smaller screen at this point. And, excuse me. It's just, I would want another iMac, but they don't fucking make them anymore for anything that I would want. It's just that one model, that one base model. With no USB-As, no anything. So that's a problem. And so, you know, I've kind of looked at different options. I don't really have the free cash to throw at a brand new computer right now. I don't need a brand new one right now either. But it's just been in the back of my head, you know, whenever I build up some cash flow that doesn't need to go to other stuff, could start to think about something new. And my eye was kind of on Mac Minis, because I don't need a Mac Studio. I figured I'd get like a Mac, just the Mac Mini, probably go for the M2 Pro, and then I would have to throw it up to at least 16 gigs of RAM, and at minimum 512 gig on the SSD, because you cannot replace this stuff. And let me open up Apple's website here real quick. I just want to see the prices of the stuff. How much is that going to cost you? Because we're going to find that out. But that would have been my next move, because I'm done with this incremental upgrading my machine, because now Intel Macs are basically just out of date. In a couple of years, in a year or two, they're going to be unsupported completely by the new OSs. And I'm just sick and tired of being that far behind on OS versions, which I'll again get into here. Here we go, M2 Pro. Okay, this is basically the model that I would want here. M2 Pro, 16 gigs, 512. Let me see what the base one upgrades to. Is there anything else involved? No, okay, you have to have that highest end model. But even if I wanted just the base M2, and if I wanted the 16 gig and the 512 gig SSD, that's $1,000. Just outright $1,000. That's a lot of money for just the computer, man. And I would want to buy a 27-inch monitor for it. You know, theirs is $1,500. So it's a big damn problem, man. It really is. But that's not my biggest problem. That's not even the problem. You know, if I needed to get that machine, I could get it. I could get my hands on that $1,000 Mac Mini. I'd make it work. I would do what I needed to do. But I'm not, like, again, I'm not in an immediate hurry to upgrade this thing, but it's getting there, because I'm running macOS Sierra on this thing. I won't go to High Sierra because I have problems with that OS. I've tried to use it. I can't get along with it. There's bugs in the OS and things that just drive me crazy. Different problems with some of my applications as well. And I don't like it. Mojave has the same problems as well. And you can install that one without changing the partition if you mess around, but I refuse to use the Apple partition system on this machine, the Apple file system, because it is not good for those older mechanical hard drives. It will speed up the death of the machine, certainly. And basically, my thinking with this computer is once the hard drive dies, I'm done with it. I'm just done with it. I'm not going to open this thing up. I just don't have the patience for it. The way I am with these things, the whole ungluing the screen and delaminating it and having to redo it with new, like, and just how hard it is to work with these damn things. Because I have worked on iMacs before. I hate it every time. And we're talking like 2006 and 8 iMacs. Not as bad as this. So I will not do it. I don't care enough to do it. And on this guy, like, you know, I thought maybe, you know, put a USB 3 external hard drive on it. But the USB ports on this machine are so flaky where if you bump it, it disconnects. You touch it at all, it disconnects. Sometimes it disconnects and I'm fucking blown away. There's 4 ports. I'll try to use the ones on opposite ends so that they aren't right next to each other, and I still knock the shit out. So you'd have a problem there. I'd have to go entirely to external hubs, and that would cause overhead, and just, it would be a problem. So that's limits the life of this for me, because I just don't care enough. But in between that and not wanting to go up on the OS, and I wouldn't go past Mojave, honestly. Not on this old of a machine. I would just get a new machine if I wanted to go past Mojave, because once you go past Mojave, 32-bit apps are gone. And that's my biggest problem. That right there, that and losing VirtualBox, which we'll get into. Because almost all of my apps are 32-bit for Mac. All of the games that I play on Mac are 32-bit, like 99% of them are. So those are all gone. A lot of the utilities that I've built up over the years, most of them are 32-bit. Like, I've always liked that Office 2011. It's 32-bit. So it's gone. I have a perpetual license for it. That's gone. I don't really have to go through this because the video's going so long already, but just the majority of my apps are 32-bit, so they wouldn't run on a modern Mac at all. And, you know, I've done different things with Wine and with VirtualBox as well, because I still run Windows programs frequently. And I've always just had virtual machines set up, and the performance isn't amazing, but it's enough to get in and use the applications for the most part, as long as they don't directly interface with the hardware, with external hardware, because then you get problems like with parallel ports and stuff. But again, since you're not using a x86 type processor, man, you cannot use old Windows virtual machines. You can't do it. And Windows for ARM, I don't even know if you can install that on a Mac. And even then, you're emulating everything, and it's just, I don't want to deal with that stuff, man. So for me, between that, like the fact that basically all of my stuff is just junk, useless on a modern Mac, that's enough for me to be like, I get this thing. The only thing that a modern Mac would be good for: web browser, a nice screen, the music app I would use because I have an iTunes library that's huge. You know, I would have it integrated with my Apple account because I have the Apple, the phone and the iPad and stuff. It would all be integrated with that, which is nice, but... And I won't switch to Android, by the way. No, I will not do that. But, that's the only thing that I really get in terms of software benefits, external software benefits, is the Apple ecosystem. Everybody always talks about that, and just it being a good machine for web browsing. I mean, that's it. All of my utility stuff, the stuff that I actually work with, that makes me productive, other than the damn web browser, all of it's gone. And all of my entertainment stuff, all my games, they're all gone. Some of my old software for frickin' the DVDs and stuff is gone too. And again, I still run iTunes 8 from 2008 because I don't like the newer versions. There's a lot of problems I have with them. You can't run it, so the library is stuck on you pretty much. I could probably, if push came to shove, I would upgrade the library to the music app, but if I can hold out, I will. So those are my problems. Hardware is needlessly expensive. Paying that much for RAM and SSD is ridiculous, and then it's soldered on. If it breaks, you're fucked. You cannot expand it once you're done. I don't buy computers. I will not buy a new computer every other year. I don't care. I just will not do that. I'm not like that. With these used ones, I've kind of limped along, but when you're only investing $100, $200 at most on each machine, it doesn't matter that much. You can kind of keep limping along, but with a Mac, since you can't gradually spend that much to upgrade the thing as you go along, it's a new machine every time. A new damn machine every time. So yeah, it's the price, lack of upgradability, loss of iMac form factor, and then app support, the big one. is the app support. No more Windows software, nothing to that. Nothing at all. And that's not going to get any better anytime soon. So, you know, I could buy a new Mac. It would be a nice machine, definitely, because, like, you know, I like Macs. The hardware is nice, and it's not too fussy. It just works. I mean, it does. But that's not worth the trade-offs that I mentioned there. It's just not. And for me, you know, I've been using macOS long enough now. I've kind of dug into the OS in a way that I've seen what's good and what's not. There are little things that I think Windows does better. I really think there are things around the edges that Windows does much better because it's just a more open system in general. For a tinkerer like me, anyway. There's those things around the edges that make it up that Windows does better. But Mac, definitely, I will give. It's just a more simple experience. You don't have to dick with it. You don't have to fuck around as much. Updates do break things, but it's not the same as Windows with updates. And it doesn't have as much nagware and ads on your fucking start menu and all that garbage and things being relocated every other second, and you don't have to fight with it as much. And I haven't used modern Windows, so I don't know where it's at with that, but that's all I hear. And it wouldn't surprise me, because that's the state it was in when I was still using modern Windows. But, you know, push is going to come to shove. It is. Push is going to come to shove, and the point is going to come when I have to have both. That's the thing that I'll say. I have to have both Windows and Mac. And like I say, I've been running that ThinkPad machine for... I've had that thing for a decade at this point. It's a i3 Sandy Bridge, like 1.4 gigahertz, dual-core i3. I don't know if I just said dual-core i3 twice, but whatever. I'm out of it, man. There's just so much info in my head and everything. I'm just like, ah. But it's an old machine. Intel HD Graphics 3000. My dumbass, way back in the day, installed 32-bit Windows 7, so I'm limited to 4 gigs, even though it has 8 installed in it. You know, it ran fine for a long time. But ever since, like, late 2021, that thing has just gone to hell. I don't even really use it anymore unless I need something that I absolutely cannot access on here. But Windows 7 is out of date big time. For the games that I want to play on it, not only has the performance tanked big time in the last couple of years, but Steam's dropping support for Windows 7 soon enough, in a little over a month. Half-Life 25th anniversary came out, it broke the fucking game on my computer. SAMP goddamn shut down! Just it vanished. These guys have gotten a new client out to help get the server list back online. It doesn't run on 32-bit Windows. I don't even know if it runs on Windows 7. So none of the games that I would play on that machine, I can't play them anymore. So that machine is nothing to me now, other than those couple applications. One of them including that damn LifeCam software, and that is the last computer that I will ever own, the last Windows install ever to have that software, because it's the stupid online installer. So, but that machine is basically dead. It's junk. It's unusable at this point. A Sandy Bridge i3, I'm not going to upgrade that thing to Windows 10. I'm not going to try installing 11 on it. I'm not going to bother with it. So, with all that in mind, the fact that my Windows machine that I do have here at home is junked, pretty much. And the fact that, while I can still use this, I'm using like WaterFox browser on this, man, on Sierra. I'm just kind of moving to the point where eventually the browser's just going to stop. Excuse me. The browser support's going to go away, and then that's the end of that. And I would like to be on something that's a little more current, a little more up to date. But I'm not gonna. I don't want to mess with the way I have this machine set up now. I really don't. The way that it's set up now will be perfect to preserve for later use, regardless of what the web browser is, just for personal offline use, for games, for the iTunes and stuff. So I'll keep this machine like it is. I'll just keep it where it is. And what I'm gonna do, hopefully, is switch to Windows for everything else. And Yeah, after all this time, guys. But things are different than they were back in 2017. You know, they really are. Even on the modern Macs, because I was always behind the curve. But my app support would have been the same, regardless. My ability to operate wouldn't have been any different at that time. But now it's all gone. It's just all freaking gone. And one thing I'll say, I said in a past video, the last weekly update, I talked about this a little bit, how I was considering switching back to Windows, and I said I wouldn't buy a used machine. Well, that's not quite true. Because I'm not entirely sold on it just yet, I don't want to go buy some top-of-the-line computer just to fight with the thing and hate it. And I don't need much. I really don't need much. I just need something that's a good step up from that ThinkPad. So I went out, man. I like the older Dell Optiplex models. I use a lot of them in different applications, like for the CNC software and stuff like that. That might be an interesting video to show how I configure one of these guys for Mach 3 and different stuff. But those are great machines. They're very reliable. They run cool. And they're the slim form factor even. I mean, for what it is, man, it's fine. And so I went and I found one here that's pretty cool. Let me pivot back to Mac for a second, because I want to make a point about the machine that I got here. My original plan was, if I had to obsolete this machine, what I would do was going to be, I would buy 2 Mac Minis. I would buy the M2 or M3 or whatever the hell it would be on at the time that I had mentioned. And then I would go get a used 2018 Mac Mini. And then I can run Mojave on it and then have all the 32-bit apps. And then I can just KVM them and there you go. And so you'd have a out-of-date OS that would still have some support for a little bit longer. And then I would have all the old apps there and then I could just switch between the two like that. And have that kind of tiered system there. And just use it like that, and that would be pretty good, and it would be good enough performance, this and that. But then all the accessories and stuff would be unified, so it would be basically the same machine in every other regard. But the machine that I just got for Windows, it is it's an i5 hexa-core, so 6-core processor, the 8500 I think the model is. And that's the desktop version of that chip that I would have gotten in the Mac Mini, because I would have gotten the i5 for that one, for the middle of the road option. So we're like a 4 or 5 year old machine on here, but for what I do, you know, that's fine. It has the UHD graphics, like 630. Again, perfectly fine for me. You know, a massive upgrade from those 3000 graphics. I don't play modern games, as I've said before. I don't care. So people are going to bitch and complain, you need to get a better graphics card. Man, I don't care. I don't need a graphics card. I actually prefer to run without graphics cards. All my machines were possible. I take the graphics card out. Again, because it's all about that performance per watt and just having that low, just run it as, don't tax the power supply. That's my whole point. Don't tax the power supply. Don't upgrade the power supply. Nothing. Keep that low. Because most of them I don't even play games on. I don't do stuff that needs the GPU. It's all CPU based. A little bit of dedicated memory can help, but the newer integrated chips have enough that you can allocate when you have enough RAM that it mostly overcomes that hurdle. So I've never had any problem just running off of the integrated. And if you want to tell me that I need an integrated, if I need a dedicated graphics card like a GeForce, whatever, 1070, 1080, whatever the hell they have now, to play Rainbow Six 3 Raven Shield, or at best like Skyrim, like, no, I don't need that. I really don't need that. Tell me that I need that to play Civilization 6 if I wanted to, because I still play Civilization 3, which is over 20 years old. But I don't really play video games that are modern. I have just my classic set of games that I play, and that's fine. They run great on this machine here, this 2012 iMac. Some of them are running through Wine from the Windows versions or just Mac ports, and they run great on here, so why the hell would I have a problem with a UHD 630? I did compare with some websites. My iMac has It's the base model iMac for the time, the quad-core i5, the Ivy Bridge, 2.9 gigahertz. So that'll be a decent step up, definitely on processor. And then the graphics card was a GTX 660M, 512 meg card. So that I saw that this card might be better than those integrated graphics, but like I say, this performs well enough. So we'll just have to see. Again, if I can at least equal this thing or approximately equal it, I don't care. I really don't care that much. And again, the performance will be better under Windows because, you know, Mac games, a lot of the ports kind of sucked, and I know my dog's barking, but hey, it is what it is. I'm not restarting the video after 25 damn minutes. I'm going to try to wrap it up here soon. So yeah, I don't run with graphics cards. I don't care to. So what I need is just a good enough CPU that is also combined with a passable integrated graphics solution. That's good enough for me. And so we're with an i5 8500, a Coffee Lake processor, which will run Windows 11. That was something that I took into consideration. I'm going to start with Windows 10 Pro and then move to Windows 11 sometime probably late 2025 or early 26. Just to give myself time, you know, because I don't really like Windows 11 that much from what I've played with it. So I'll use Windows 10 while I can. Just while I can, and by the time I get to that point, maybe I'll even upgrade the whole computer, so I'm not going to bother with Windows 11 just yet. Not that big of a deal, it's just not. But my plan for this machine is it's already got 16 gigs in it for RAM, which is good. I'm hoping that'll be enough. It should be enough for what I do. It's been enough on this Mac here. I don't know how worse it will be efficiency-wise on the Windows machine. But, so we got 16 gig to start. If I absolutely need to, I'll go up to 32, and then that should be good enough. And then it comes with a 512 gig SSD, which is apparently an M2 SSD, and a caddy is what they say on what I bought. So I'll try to take that out and put it in the M2 slot. Hopefully it's compatible. I don't know, because I've never touched an M2 SSD in my life. I have no idea. But hopefully it should work. If not, I will buy one. And we're just going to have to see as well if the SSD is an original part. Excuse me. Or if it's some cheap Chinese garbage, because that might also make me consider dropping a new one in there. Because what I would like to do is this machine has one... if I'm correct, again, I haven't seen it opened up. I was just reading PDFs and stuff from Dell. It has an M2 slot, and it has one SATA connector for either a 3.5-inch drive or a 2.5-inch drive. So if I could run the M2 SATA drive as the boot drive and have all the applications on there, I'll put in like a 1 or 2 terabyte mechanical hard drive as a data drive, because I don't like SSDs for data storage if it's not regularly accessed data, because if an SSD fails, that's basically the end of that. I've recovered data from failing drives, or even failed pretty much drives many times. So I prefer mechanical drives for data storage. So I'd have like 2.5 or 1.5 terabytes in the machine, which would be good enough for me. And that's like, I like that. I can open that up and I can do that. If the SSD dies or the hard drive dies, easy swap. Easy swap. On that 2018 Mac Mini, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you can swap the M2. I think it's like an M2 as well. SSD, but it's a pain in the ass to open that thing up. On the newest Mac Mini, you cannot. So, I will be happy to get back to that. I really will. Monitor-wise, I'm probably going to buy a 27-inch, probably just a 1440p monitor, honestly. I don't care about high DPI that much. This 27-inch iMac has been crisp enough for me at 1440p, and then for games it gives you better performance. Not that it matters that much, but on that integrated graphics it would definitely help. But for now anyway, I just have it's an older Dell 24-inch monitor, like a U2412M LED monitor. That's 1920 by 1200, and that'll suffice for now. I just want something a little higher resolution because I'm used to this. But it'll be passable. And yeah, and I'll even have the possibility for dual monitors if I need it. So that's going to be really interesting, man. And it's I mean, I already have acquired this machine. It's not obviously here. So as long as it works out, man, as long as it doesn't come broken or anything like that, we're going to plunge into this thing and we're going to be using Windows again for the first time in 6 years. Seriously, like, it's just, it's really something, you know. I kind of switched to Mac on a whim. It just kind of happened. And this also just kind of happened. Even though this I had definitely been contemplating for much longer, it was only in the last couple days that I decided I'm just going to do this. When I found this machine, you know, I'm just going to do it. I know people, there's going to be some people I'm sure that are going to bitch at me. You're buying a fucking 8th gen Intel i5 and you're not using a graphics card and you're using a stock PSU. I don't give a damn. It's a work computer with some entertainment stuff on it and some games that are at newest, maybe 9 years old, 10 years old. So, it will be alright. It will be okay. If you want to tell me that a fucking Coffee Lake desktop i5 6-core isn't enough for Microsoft Office and some light video editing for this channel every once in a while and Raven Shield, like, just tell me that. Tell me that. So it'll be alright. It'll be alright. I don't need the bleeding edge. But this will be enough to dip my toes in the opposite direction and start to move back. So I'm going to miss a lot of things about Mac OS, but I'll get over it. I'll eventually get over it. And like I say, this 27-inch iMac will probably stay here. Mostly just as like a glorified jukebox. Because there's one problem. That is one thing that really fucking hurts, man. Is I can't port my iTunes library to Windows. I can't do it. Not properly. It will ruin what I have set up. Because, I mean, I could still run iTunes 8 on the newest Windows. But it truncates the file names. It shortens all the file names. And some of them just outright will get cut off or hidden from the library. And when you have thousands and thousands of tracks, forget about it. I've tried to do it already. I've tried to migrate it to Windows before. And it always gets fucking savaged big time. I know Windows 10 supports longer file names. iTunes was never updated to adjust for that. So it's garbage. It sucks. But hey, I'm stuck. So pretty much I'm just going to keep this iMac for iTunes and that kind of stuff. A couple of dedicated programs or different things here for my legacy Mac software. And a nice display for watching movies and stuff. That's pretty much what it is at this point. Which that's kind of what it's been drifting towards anyway. Because I always kind of figured, you know, I would keep this thing around. Because I have nowhere else to store it other than just getting rid of it. But the way that my setup is, I have plenty of stuff in storage, but this thing is just big enough and awkward enough I would not be able to cram it in anywhere. So, it's just going to stay sitting here. And then the windows will be added in. And we'll just go from there. So, we're going to do this vid at 35 minutes. That's 15 minutes longer than I wanted to make it, but I'm not going to keep redoing it to try to condense it, because at best I'll probably only get like 25 or whatever, and it's just whatever. I know a lot of people aren't going to watch it because it was too long, but hey, it is what it is, guys. It just is what it is, just like everything else on this fucking thing. So, let me know what you think if you watched the whole way through, man. Have you messed around with switching back and forth? Have you settled on anything? Has Apple's recent moves or Microsoft's recent moves influenced your decisions at all? Just let me know, man. And yeah, we're starting down that damn road again, and it's crazy. It's again, I've thought about it for about a year. Slowly but surely, Windows has come back into my computing life, and here we are at our breaking point, I suppose. So, it'll be interesting. I'll definitely, once I have everything set up and how I want it, I will probably do another video following up and giving my thoughts on it and stuff. So, when that's going to be, I don't know, and when the next video is going to be, I also don't know. We'll just have to kind of see. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the 35-minute rambling, and I will catch you guys later.